Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon, we have Judge Ben Zeller joining us to discuss his role as county judge and how he came to acquire that position and what pathways he took along the way. Thank you so much, Judge Zeller. We're glad to have you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Raquel. It's good to be with everybody this afternoon and to take a few minutes to talk about my role as county judge in particular and county government elected office, I guess, more generally. I want to make sure everybody can hear me all right, and also hopefully kind of get a sense of who we've got on the call today. Are you guys able to chime in on the chat feature here? Looks like we've got about a dozen or so participants. Okay, there's a CTE counselor, VISD. Okay, looks like we've got about 10 or so individuals. Okay, someone with workforce, Kathy Hunt, VBEC. Hey, Kathy. All right, well, again, it's good to be on the call today. I have a kind of an outline of what Raquel asked me to go over today, and I'll do that. Of course, I'm going to save some time at the end if there are any particular questions. I'd love to be able to answer your questions as well as we move along. But to get started, my role as a county judge, I'll tell you, most people I encounter aren't very well versed in what a county judge is, what a county judge does. Interestingly, in counties of our size in Texas, the county judge is not a judicial position. It's a budgetary and administrative role. It's an elected position, the chief elected official in the county, but it's a budgetary and administrative role. The duties and responsibilities, and really the position itself, was created in the Texas Constitution. So it's a role that's been around a while. Some of the responsibilities have changed over the years, but by and large, it's a budgetary administrative position, a role where I wear many different hats and have a lot of different responsibilities. A very unique role. Some of the biggest duties and responsibilities of a county judge is as the budget officer for the county. Also, and we saw this a lot recently with the COVID situation, in every county in the state of Texas, the county judge is also the director of emergency management. And in addition to those formal roles, there's a lot of other hats that I wear. The county judge in most instances is the default spokesman for the county, spokesperson for the county. We deal with everything from personnel policies and HR issues to lawsuits and employment issues. And really, there's not a whole lot that happens in the county where in some way it doesn't come across my desk or through my email or I get contacted over the phone. It's hard to describe a typical day because of so many different hats that you wear in this role. I've described the position as basically an effort to be one step ahead of everything all the time. A lot of the day is spent in meetings. The county judge is the presiding officer of the 5-member commissioners court in every county. In every county, there's 4 commissioners, 1 from each precinct, and then a county judge that is elected countywide, and together that commissioners court is the governing body for the county. It's a really unique role and one that I absolutely love. I was elected in 2014, and am serving my second term now. On the kind of the guide here, it asks the question, how did you choose this field? And for me, that's I guess a meaningful question, because even prior to deciding to run for county judge, from a very early age, I was always interested in local government and in public policy. And I knew that it would be a path that I would take at some point down the road. And so even before knowing that I would pursue this position in particular, I worked hard to try and develop the skills that would be used in this role. As a budget officer for the county and wearing so many different hats, the skills that come into play in this role are certainly finance and budget, economics, but a lot of it is what you'd call soft skills, team building, networking, consensus building, communication. A big part of the job is speaking to groups and to organizations and to constituents, other governmental entities. So communication, public speaking is a big part of the role. There's not a particular course of study in school that you have to be a county judge. Interestingly enough, a law degree is not required to be the county judge, and most county judges are not attorneys. Degrees like business and finance and communication generally prove more helpful in the role, but there's a lot of different backgrounds. Folks who have been in the military, folks who have been in private business, individuals who have been in other elected office, concerned citizens that step up to the plate. So there's not a typical profile. I would say that me having been elected at such a comparatively young age is unusual. The average age of a county judge in Texas is probably mid-60s. So me being mid-30s is a little bit of an anomaly, but there have been younger folks elected in recent times. On the outline here, it asks about if there are entry-level positions. And I guess I'll answer that more in terms of elected office in general, whether it's county government or city government or any other elected role. There's really not entry-level positions in terms of every elected role has a very important and unique responsibility. And different elected roles have very different responsibilities. So it's not necessarily entry-level options available, but I will say that everybody who comes into public office, regardless of what their age is or what their background is, everybody is a newbie at some point. And there's a learning curve in every elected office. I guess had the good fortune of having studied this role and learned a lot about this role and followed local government before I ever considered running for office. But it's a unique and wonderful position. I encourage students and really anyone with an interest in public policy, local government, to look at the prospect of running for office. I will say that one of the challenges, if somebody has a goal of running for office, whether it's as county judge or county commissioner or mayor or any other position, is that there are a limited number of these roles in every county in the state, regardless of if it's the smallest county or the biggest county. There's only one county judge. So if someone has their sights on that particular role, there's not a whole lot of available slots. But I will say that there's always room in public service for young people to be involved. And really a good way to get your feet wet in that is to volunteer, whether it's the city or we as the county. There are a lot of boards and commissions that the county has and appoints members of the public to. So any qualified individual with an interest and with the skills can apply to be on a board or commission, and that's a good way to get your feet wet in kind of this realm of public policy and of government administration. On this list, it talks about what I do as county judge on a daily basis, and again, that's generally a little bit of a long answer because there's a lot of different roles, responsibilities. A lot of my day is in meetings, whether it's commissioners court meetings or our various entities that the county participates with. A lot of it's in meetings. A lot of it is planning the weekly agenda. As I mentioned, the county judge is the presiding officer of Commissioners Court, that 5-member body that runs the county. So that takes a lot of time, but it's a role of consensus building and team building and coalition building, and really is a unique and wonderful responsibility and really a big honor. To get into and to be successful in elected office, you have to really be able to do and to be successful at a lot of different things. Being an elected position, you have to, as the first step, be able to offer the voters something, benefit and skills and abilities, and become elected. And then once in office, you need to be able to deliver the goods in terms of being competent in the role, doing what you said you were going to do. And that over the long term is a very unique responsibility and opportunity. Let's see, I see one, okay, it's someone else joining, a Melody, welcome aboard. So when I talk to folks about my role as county judge, I talk about the particular role specifically, but then also I like to look at just the broader picture of elected office or public service. There will always be a need, and I'd say an increasing need, for good people to run for public office and to serve in public office. County government, and obviously I'm talking about the county, county judge, county commissioners court. County government in Texas is very unique in that it's the only full-time paid professional level of government in the state. In Texas, from the legislature in Austin at the top of the totem pole, all the way down to your city council, to your school board, to your water board, those are all part-time volunteer positions where those elected individuals hire a manager, whether it be a city manager or a superintendent, to take care of the day-to-day operations. With the county and county government, those of us who you elect to these positions actually carry out the day-to-day responsibilities of the office, which makes it unique among all the other governmental entities in the state. And it's something that I really, really enjoy about the role. While there's only one county judge, there's many other county elected positions, from the commissioners that I mentioned to your justices of the peace, to your county treasurer, your county clerk, district clerk, constable, the sheriff. These are all county positions. And every one of them, every one of us, by law and through the state constitution, is given exclusive authority to operate our offices as we see fit. Um, when I talk to folks about the structure of county government, if you were to think of county government as a business, it wouldn't be one big business. It would be a whole lot, probably 24 individual small businesses, all working together to serve the same constituents, the same customers. Um, Again, there's the probably a couple dozen different elected positions, constables, commissioners, JPs, all elected by the residents and all with a very specific role and responsibility to do. Victoria County here in Victoria, we're unique in that we're one of the original 23 counties in the state of Texas. Back in 1836, when Texas became Texas and separated from Mexico and formed the Republic of Texas, the original 23 jurisdictions, local jurisdictions that existed under Mexican rule became the first 23 Texas counties. And Victoria County was one of those. So we were one of the first. Of course, over the years, the number of counties has grown to where today we have 254 counties. And so it's an old form of government. It's a unique form of government, but one that it's very, for me, a big honor to be able to serve in this role. A very unique set of challenges. The outline here talks about how COVID-19 may have changed my job, if any. And it has, like I mentioned, the county judge is the director of emergency management in every county. So when COVID was appearing to be a big threat, and months ago when we really didn't know a lot about it and lots of people were anticipating the worst, in every county, it was the county judge joined by local mayors who worked together to lay out the disaster and emergency management plan for the county. For those who follow local media, you probably saw at some point the daily press briefings that we were doing, letting the community and the public know about what was going on related to COVID. For me, my job got a whole lot busier during COVID-19. Depending on the role, some folks were sent home to work remotely. I was downtown here at the courthouse at our emergency operations center. So that's something that was pushed onto our plate and became a priority and still is something important that we're addressing. Let's see. It asks about academic knowledge you need for the role. Again, there's not a set degree that you have to be a county judge. You don't have to have a degree. Some county judges don't have a formal education. Most do. Personally, after graduating high school, I attended Victoria College and then transferred over to UHV. Got a bachelor's degree in business and then later an MBA from Texas A&M San Antonio. That's, I think, served me well, but again, there's no set background. I think that any background can make a good county judge in the right person. So that's most of the highlights on the outline here. I would love to answer any questions that any of you may have about my role as county judge, about county government in general, about elected office, political office. What questions might you guys have? I'll tell you one big challenge that we have in local government and county government is when the legislature is in session every 2 years, We do have the prospect of having unfunded mandates and new rules and laws and regulations pushed down on us at the local level. And so every time the legislature is in session, and even in between legislative sessions, a big part of my job is being very involved in that process so that we have our local communities represented there in Austin, and we have a seat at the table. One of the big challenges we have is unfunded mandates, where there's an expense looming at the state level, and the responsibility for paying that is pushed down to local taxpayers, local property taxpayers. That's something that I've made it a goal of fighting against in my time as county judge. But that's something that comes up every legislative session. If I know we've got some teachers, I think some educators on the conference call here. If any of you have a student interested in public policy, in local government, there are ways to be involved. If they have an affinity for the political side of things, having them volunteer directly in a political campaign is a very valuable and eye-opening experience. And I can tell you, as an office holder, that's something I always welcome. Volunteers, people interested in the process, that's an opportunity that every elected official on the planet would welcome. A high school student wanting to volunteer or shadow one of us for a day, that's a good opportunity. Let's see, I see a comment coming in on the chat feature here. Let me see. It says, do you offer any volunteer / non-paid internships for high school students? We just this last year set up an internship program for college students, actually a paid internship for college students through University of Houston, Victoria. Having that internship for high school students is not something we've done or talked about as of yet, but that's a discussion I'd be very open to. One of our challenges is that we run pretty lean on staff, on personnel. So if there were the opportunity for a student to come in a few hours a week and learn while also helping out, that'd be something I'd certainly be open to. I'd be willing to discuss that further. If Raquel, you wanted to call the office or anybody and talk about that concept further, 361-575-4558 is the office number here at the courthouse, 361-575-4558. I'd be open to discussing that further. Like we say, there is a paid internship for college students. Let's see. There's another question. In case students are apprehensive about volunteering in a campaign, can you describe what their task would be? Well, the answer is it could be a wide array of things. In every campaign, there's a big need for boots on the ground. If pretty much every facet of running for office and being elected and getting your message to the voters, running and winning and then taking office is a labor-intensive effort, and there's a need for volunteers every step along the way. I know when I ran for office, and again, this is the political side of the discussion, which, it takes getting through that to take office and fulfill official government duties. But, I had people helping stuff envelopes, manage donor and volunteer databases, making calls, putting out signs. Some students may have a little bit more of a strategic ability, graphic design, messaging, all those can be helpful. And, the political side of things is a component of elected office, because getting your name on the ballot, that's a political undertaking that everybody has to go through to be elected. And I know there are a lot of young folks who aren't necessarily interested in that whole arena. My advice would be to become interested in it and to participate, because I can tell you there are examples of um, counties, communities around us where people have won and been elected to very important offices with a handful of votes, where the margin of victory was a dozen votes. In Aransas County, there was a county commissioner a couple years back that won with one vote. So every vote matters, and I encourage everyone to participate. I see a couple more questions coming in on the chat. Let's see, how about middle school 8th graders? You know, there might be an issue arise with these students being minors. So the internship, I'm open to looking into the concept further, but if an internship weren't an option, then maybe what would be is shadowing an office holder for a day, or perhaps as part of a school assignment, attending commissioner's court. We meet every morning at 10 o'clock, and we welcome members of the public to participate and to attend and see what's going on. We welcome that. We also live stream all of our meetings, so you could even watch from home if you wanted to. Let's see, I see another comment coming in. Can you describe what type of skills you utilize frequently, hard skills or soft skills? You mentioned you had a background in business and finance. How has that helped you along the way in your role? Happy to answer that. I'll tell you, being that there are so many responsibilities and hats that the person in this role wears, there's really a lot of skills that if you don't have it coming in the door, you really have to develop it. Soft skills are critical. I mentioned us kind of being a group of, rather than one big business, a bunch of little businesses working together, serving the same customers. It takes teamwork to be successful in county government, whether it's the 5 members of commissioner's court or other elected officials or stakeholders in the community, other governments we work with. It takes somebody who can communicate, who can build consensus. Soft skills are vital, especially, you know, running for office, campaigning. You need to be able to communicate to people, to tell them why you're the best person for the job, and communicate what you're going to do once elected. And then once elected, communicate what you're up to. In the job itself, I'll tell you, my education in business with undergraduate and then an MBA, that's been very helpful in terms of the finance and accounting component of things. A county judge, like I mentioned, is the chief budget officer for the county. So accounting and finance is very important. That's a big part of it, but also other classes that I took in my college degree plan were very helpful. Business communication, public speaking, both of those were very, very important. You know, even the less thought of courses in a business degree, probability and statistics, that comes into play. You know, those are some definite skills there. But again, it's not confined to any particular degree plan or background. You know, there's a wide range of backgrounds in the world of county judges, and I think that anybody can be successful with whatever background. There's the question, are there any specific education or certification requirements for county commissioners? The answer is not to be elected or to run for office. That you just have to be eligible to be on the ballot. But once elected, there are legal education requirements that have to be completed every single year. A new commissioner has to complete an annual number of training hours on administrative and legal subjects. So there is continuing education requirements for every elected office holder, including county judge. Um, while there's not a particular degree or educational credential to run for office, once you're in, there definitely is continuing education that has to be done every year. And we get that largely through attending conferences where there are trainings on specific topics. In the Texas Constitution, rather than requiring a particular education, of course, that was written a long time ago, the verbiage is that the county judge be knowledgeable of the law. And so you can do that, be that by the continuing education rather than holding a particular degree. But I'll tell you, my degree background has been very, very helpful. Finance, economics, accounting, budgeting, public speaking, goodness, English, being able to write well, correct grammar, spelling, punctuation. That's critical because I'll tell you, in public office, everybody's watching, and you don't want to be misspelling things, using incorrect speller, grammar, punctuation. So that's important. That's important also. But there certainly are those educational requirements. But these are all things that can also be honed. I tell students, especially, that you never stop learning. You never stop improving yourself. That's critical once in office because things are always changing, the laws, the regulations, and you have to be able to be continually learning and adapting. Let's see. Wonderful questions. Are there any additional questions that you guys might have? Okay. I don't see any coming on.
I do have one. I can't type fast enough.
Okay, go ahead.
It might sound a bit off-colored, but what is the importance of a youth staying on a clean legal record to be able to get into county judge office?
Well, that's very important, both from a legal requirement. If you have a felony, you would not be eligible to run for office. But even on lesser issues, just the youthful indiscretions that may arise, there's a practical problem with those in that in running for public office, you're certainly in the public eye. Everybody's watching, and goodness, if you want to people to research you, find out about you, put your name on the ballot, and I guarantee you your opponents will be looking into your background. And that's one aspect, probably an unfortunate aspect of political office. It can be, some would call it a blood sport. It can be kind of mean, kind of unfortunately kind of nasty. You don't see that as much locally. Thank God for that. Things are so politicized out there at the national and state level. Fortunately, in local races in a smaller community where you know people, and it's not as bad, but things can be intense from a political standpoint, and you are in a fishbowl, as they say. Everybody's watching, everybody's looking, and everybody on the planet has things in their background that they're not proud of. That shouldn't discourage people from getting involved, but especially when you're young and you have the ability to be warned and to make right choices, that is important. And I do appreciate that question, Raquel, because that is important. Goodness, there's many examples of individuals who have run for office to have things from their past emerge and knock them out of the running. A lot of that is unfortunate. There's, unfortunately, mudslinging that we all get hit with, but that's important. And for a young person, absolutely. keep your social media activity on the up and up, and certainly a clean record is important. Any other questions we have? I think we're okay on time, Raquel. I'm happy to answer more, or if nobody else has anything additional, I'll tell you, I always enjoy talking about local government, county government in particular, and what we're up to. What we've been up to recently has primarily been COVID related activities, but as we start to put that behind us and move forward, we're going to be working on next year's budget. We're going to be working on a lot of further initiatives to modernize things around here, which is an undertaking I took on last year. I see a new comment coming up. Do you have any ideas on how civics education in public school can be improved for citizen education and to prepare future civic leaders? Well, that's a great question. It does seem like, and I'm a little bit removed from it now, but it does seem like education these days focuses less on civics, on government than what it should. As a teacher, an educator with the ability to do so, for those who do have the ability, I would include local government, at least attending a commissioner's court meeting, a city council meeting, would incorporate that as much as possible, because it's really kind of shocking how, I guess, unattuned with local government, local decision making a lot of people are. A lot of people can't tell you who their mayor is, who their county judge is, what the difference between the city and the county is. And that's important because amid all the levels of government, your local government is really where the rubber meets the road. And for those who need an incentive to be involved, it's the level of government where your voice is most loudly heard. If you were to call the president or the governor, you're probably not going to get a personal call back. In fact, you're definitely not. But if you call 575-4558, you will get a call back from me. And I have one county to serve and only one county. And I always welcome feedback and participation from the community. So your voice and your participation does make a difference locally. I can't tell you how many times we've had a budget hearing or some important public hearing open to the community and nobody shows up, or one or two people show up. If there's an important matter in front of Commissioner's Court and you're the only person that shows up, that's the one voice the court heard before they voted on something. So that's important. That's powerful. You have the voice of 20, 50 people when you participate locally. Well, no, this is still May. This month, May, down the road in Port Lavaca, there were some city council elections. And in one in particular, the winner, a challenger who ran against an incumbent city council member, won by with a total of barely 3 dozen votes. 30 some odd, 40 some odd people selected that position. So your voice matters, your participation matters. So I would encourage young people to be involved and educators to encourage their students to be involved and to participate. All right. Well, I think, Raquel, I've probably used up the time you have allotted me. Again, I really do appreciate the opportunity to visit with you. Anybody with any questions or would like to visit further about anything ever, give me a call at the office. I welcome your calls and your feedback, and I appreciate your attention today.
Thank you so much, Judge Zeller. We appreciate your time. If anyone else has any further questions, definitely reach out to him or email me, and I can relay the questions or concerns. Once again, thank you all for calling in or logging in. And we appreciate everything that you're doing for our county. You all stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much, and you all have a good afternoon.